People ask Reddit, what's your worst dating experience? He took me to see Cloverfield, kept putting his hand on my thigh with me putting it back in his lap. He stopped and I thought he got the message. Instead he tells me he's motion sick and we have to leave now. He staggers out of the theater brushing against irritated people in their seats. Outside, he pukes into the popcorn bucket while I stand there mortified. We go back to his car and he tells me he is too sick to drive for a while. I wait a bit trying to think of what to do when I notice him unbuttoning his pants. I ask him what he is doing and he asks if I want to kiss it. Got out of the car and went into the lobby and called my sister to pick me up. He was still sitting in his car when we left 45 minutes later. Reply: Holy mother, that was a bad date. Answer: the sad thing is he was cute and funny and I was planning on having sex with him that night. The motion sickness was not an issue. But the groping and being a pig just came out of nowhere. Like, why? Wasn't he drunk or high on something else? I think Molly can make you sick too. To be fair, the first and only time I saw Cloverfield, I got such bad motion sickness, I had to lay down in the theater. My wife thought I was joking because this has never happened before. I thought I was going to puke everywhere. Met a girl on Craigslist. This was a long time ago obviously. After a few messages we set up a date at a bar downtown. I show up and she's already there with a guy friend. No biggie, I'm thinking, she's just playing it safe. They are at a 2-person table and the place is packed. They already have drinks so I grab one for myself and put it on my tab. Her and her friend proceed to ignore me. Like I say something and neither one acknowledges anything unless I ask a direct question. Even then I get one-word answers with attitude. So I finish my beer, pay my bill and leave without saying a word. Later I get a barrage of messages about how I'm an asshole for sticking them with their own tab. Reply: haha. She thought she was getting a free night of drinking. You done good. I thought the ending was going to be that you got a pissed off message for never showing up. I thought the Annie went on a date with a girl in college, cutie from my class who I had been trying to get to agree to the date for a while. So I picked her up to drive to dinner, and worth mentioning I lived in Wisconsin and it was January so like -23 outside. Turns out she was bipolar but refused to take any medication for it so she had a manic episode while we were driving, proceeded to undo her belt, open the door, leap out of the car into a snow bank and started running into the woods. I had to chase her down and convince her to get back in the car with me before she lost her feet to frostbite. We didn't date anymore but I was able to convince her to start her meds and keep on them through all of college. She's actually a pretty successful software engineer now. Unrelated, but that is one of 3 times a date ended with me in a snowbank on a sub-zero night. Showing her a video on my phone and my boy texts me, "Did you duck her yet?" and it pops up on the screen. Reply: did she leave? Laugh it off. Don't leave us hanging. Answer: said my friends are dumb AF. She stayed silent, mad. I still stand the night, first time with her. No serious moves were made given the circumstances. Reply: when I was dating my now wife I had brought her back to my room. I was in college and we lived off campus in a house with like 5 of my friends. My roommates thought it would be funny to put granny porn on my laptop and leave it open on my desk so we would see it right as we walked in. In hindsight it was pretty hilarious. Reply: now that's an unique icebreaker. This is legendary, haha. She ordered a steak to go, then sat quietly and waited for me to finish eating. She didn't want to answer questions, and didn't have anything she wanted to talk to me about. See you later, she said as I dropped her off. Not likely. I answered. A few years ago I met this girl on a dating site who was some sort of zookeeper. She worked with foxes or something. She was nice, friendly, smart, and hot. Had no clue how she could be single. Until we met up and I found out real quick. She stunk to high hell, all the time. It wasn't too noticeable on our first date, at a mini golf place, but she certainly smelled a bit off. At our next date it was almost overpowering. I brought it up and she said, "Oh no, sorry, yeah, for the first date I scheduled that after I had 2 days off so it wouldn't be so bad, it's just that fox musk is impossible to wash off." Asked her if she showered before our dates and she swore she did. It just didn't help, I guess. We didn't last too long. Reply. When we toured a wildlife rehab place, they made us put on gloves to go into the fox enclosure and still warned us not to touch anything wet because if you get a drop of fox urine on your skin, you'll have no social life for a week. What's so bad about it? I thought cat pee is said to be the worst pee. Nope. Fox piss is unreal. I've heard about tree farmers spraying fox urine on the trunks of Christmas trees to deter thieves. When it's cold, it doesn't have a noticeable odor, but when it warms up, it's awful. I finally took a girl out I had been pining after for a long time. She had been in a bad relationship for about 2 years, had a kid with a guy, and they finally broke up. I waited a few weeks, and asked her out. She agreed. I picked her up with a teddy bear holding some flowers. She loved them and put them in water immediately. We went to a local sushi place, ate our fill and headed out for a movie. Watched the whole movie together in the theater, flirting and touching the whole time. Afterwards, we went driving around and just talked for about 2 hours before I took her home. We made out on her front steps for probably 20 minutes before we finally peeled ourselves away from each other. I went to bed feeling absolutely fantastic. Woke up the next day and texted her good morning. No reply. Whatever, she had a baby. Figured she was busy. Went about my day. Finally got in Facebook during my lunch break and she was back together with her ex already. Haven't talked to her since. Reply. Immediately trying to drown the teddy bear holding flowers should have been a warning sign. Answer. Thanks for a laugh. I never thought about that before. Pulled out her phone and started playing Clash of Clans. It was a date that wasn't. I put in personal ad in the paper, this was back in the day, and agreed to meet this guy at a certain place. He took one look at me and drove away. He never said a word to me, just looked at me and left. I was very upset when this happened. I guess he didn't like the way I look. Reply. I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's a terrible feeling. You know, it could have been something else. Maybe he was want to cheat on his wife and chickened out. Or had a nervous stress meltdown and couldn't hack it. Met a lovely girl over Tinder, we really hit it off and had a great conversation, decided to meet in person for coffee the next day. She showed up on time, looked just like her pictures, and brought her boyfriend. I agreed to go on a date with an older coworker from my first job at a supermarket. I was 20, he was 27. He took me to lunch and didn't let me order for myself. When the waitress came to ask what I wanted to drink, he cut me off and placed both my drink and food order. I hadn't even glanced at the menu yet. He proceeded by saying I needed to meet his mom and brother soon and how we should get married and eventually have kids. Mind you, he didn't know a single thing about me. I quit shortly after that and he would message me on social media every now and then saying things like my then boyfriend didn't deserve me until I blocked him everywhere. Years back, in my early 20s, I met this girl online. She seemed nice, geeky, into a lot of the same nerd stuff I was. Cute in her photos too. She dodged me several times about going on an actual date, but finally we set something up. She wanted me to come to her house so she could make dinner, watch a movie. We were both introverts, so that's fine by me. She said she lived in Houston, but it was actually over an hour outside of it, which isn't crazy because Houston is huge. When I got to her house, it was actually a trailer in the middle of the woods on a wooded lot full of trash. Turns out they didn't have a trash service, so she basically just threw it outside. I saw cats everywhere, but it was cats and giant freaking rats. Still, I'd driven an hour plus, and I was already there, so I climbed up the decrepit deck and knocked on the door. When she opened it, the smell of cat urine poured out of the trailer and invaded my nostrils just as roughly as the Nazis did France. I get inside. Cats everywhere. Orange vats, brown cats. Skinny cats, fat cats. Old cats, young cats. Cats everywhere. I knew she lived with her mom, and I got to meet her. She was huge, like huge. I don't know how the trailer floor held up, and when she got close to me, she smelled like straight up ammonia. The mom was cooking dinner for us, which was like pre-cooked frozen stuff. The girl dragged me to her room and attacked me like an animal in heat. I begged off to go to the restroom and the room was covered in cat shit and litter. Just box after box, the shower and everything. I couldn't do it. I went and told her I'd forgotten the flowers in my car and drove the duck away as fast as I could. Thank you for listening to another B-Town Reddit Stories episode. Hit the subscribe button and check out our channel for more stories. Let us know your opinion about this topic in the comments.